Good morning. So today we're going to start ourselves off with some goodies. Got gasket for the case-o-matic cover, the inner and outer O-rings for the case-o-matic cover, the cork gasket for the rear hydraulic filter, and then of course this is our O-ring for the injection pump. So now we're going to jump right into it and clean the flanges, file them down to make sure there's no high edges, and get these things together. And there we have it. Both covers, front and back, are on, sealed up. Got the fluid, the high trans fluid in. Just threw the battery on here on a charger because I'm being hopeful. Now we're just gonna make sure our flange is clean here and the inside seal. And I unplugged all the lines to make sure there's no dirt that got in those. I'm going to install this injection pump. So the pump's still at top dead center. All my lines are still marked up and lined up. Hopefully nothing moved. And hopefully I didn't move the engine at all. Oh. And the gear lined up perfectly with the one in the engine, so hopefully that's her. Now we'll just get this thing bolted down. Now before I tighten this down, I just noticed, I don't know what happened here. There's my mark, there's my other mark. I must be off a tooth, and when I put it in, because they're worm gears, it caused it to rotate just a little bit when I put it in. So I'm gonna have to pull that back off and get that realigned. All right, so there's the original scratch line I made to the engine housing. So I know it's lined up. Then down in here, there's our lines. Line on the case, line on the gear. We're top dead center of the pump, top dead center of the engine. Now we can tighten this thing down. And that's that. I didn't film all the lines going on because there's some way down in behind here that I just can't get the camera angle on there to see. You can see them all going up under here, but with the wheel being in the way, I didn't know how to get the camera in there. But anyway, pump is fully hooked up. We topped up the reservoir here. Now to know that it's full, you just fill it up until it starts coming out of this tube. And it hasn't come out yet, but it's bubbling over from this side to the lower half of the crank. On these old 800s, the oil isn't fed from the engine block. There is a separate reservoir here, and it has to be changed every time you change the engine oil, because diesel fuel does mix in here, I guess. And I'm sure the seals aren't perfect, so a little bit of diesel fuel is going to be mixed in there as well. So now comes the fun part of trying to bleed this thing. So hopefully this goes smooth. It's going to be a painful situation, I'm sure. Last time I bled this, it took about 20 minutes. You got to go from the tank, the first filter, bleed the second filter. There's a secondary bleed screw here that helps get air out of here, and then we got to bleed the air out of the last filter here at the top, finally getting into the pump. Then we'll have to crack each injector plunger here. Make sure there's fuel coming out of all these, and then we'll crack the lines at the ejectors themselves to get the air out of there. So hopefully this goes smooth. I'll get it done as fast as I can. You can see the air coming out of here. We'll keep this going until it's just fuel. There, we now have fuel in the final stage filter, which means it should be right to the fuel rack now. Now the oil started dripping to the tube, which is good. So it's probably a little overfilled, but we got a little catch bucket down there. It's gonna get all that. So next step, I'm gonna have to crank this thing over to fill this pump and bleed these lines here. Now, I do not want this thing to start. So there is the decompression here. I'm pretty sure that's open, so it will not start. And gonna hook up the battery, crank it over, crack these lines, and see what happens. There we got fuel coming to the first plunger. So we will carry on, do the other three. This is the one here that was the biggest problem. Hopefully that thing's okay. So we'll get the rest of them done, and then we'll bleed them at the injectors themselves. So we do have fuel to all three plungers, and I was going to crack the injectors, but as you can see with the amount of smoke coming out of this thing, it's getting fuel already. So I guess we're going to do a full send and try to start her up. Got one glove on, ready to go. I've got the intake tube taking off the air intake, and if we ever run away or I can't shut her off, then I'm just gonna plug the air. Let's see what happens. She's getting fuel. She's getting smoky. But I think we're gonna have to give her a little sniff of ether just to get it to kick. Almost there. Good Lord. We're going to open a door. So she does run again. I ran it for about 20 minutes to get it hot. Radiator heated up nicely. So she's moving water. So she heated up pretty good. I do have another issue. The smoke wouldn't go away. All floor plungers are working well. And I got diesel fuel spitting out of the injectors, so we're good up to there. So I loosened these off to see what was going on, see if it's over fueling, under fueling, or whatever. Injector 4 and injector 2. When I cracked these open, the engine speed went down, almost stalled. Injector 3 and injector 1, when I crack those, I have fuel spraying out, but no change in RPM. So something's going on with these two injectors. So I will have to pull them, put them on the tester, and see what's going on. But I am out of time for today. I am happy that the pump is working. So I seem to fix that problem. Also, with the throttle control, I can shut the tractor off by putting it to 0. So hopefully all the problems are fixed with that pump. I guess there's nothing much else to say today. Like I said, I got to pull out injector 1 and injector 3. So I'll do a little reading up over this week, and then next week we'll pull those and see what we can do.